it's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Okay. Well, welcome back, listeners. I've got Glenn Lundy, and I know you've seen him because he's all over LinkedIn. This guy literally is one of the hardest working guys I've ever seen in the business. And I know a lot of people. I'm always seeing him, starting something, working on Breakfast with Champions. I was following that for years, especially through COVID. It really was inspirational. The people that he gets on this show on Clubhouse is insane. I mean, real top performers. And then, he's doing these Facebook groups and these lives, and he's doing like all of these things on LinkedIn. And he's just a wealth of information. And why? Because he's had a journey in the car business like all of us. He's worked his way up. He continues to find a way to thrive. His rise and grind. I don't think it could have described the guy any better. If you're not following Rise and Grind, you need to get on that. But he's got a club, and we've got some mutual clients that are in his club, 800%. I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit about how he built this program, and I'm going to ask him to identify some things that he's seeing dealers struggle with right now and how they can overturn it. Welcome, Glenn Lundy.
Man, it is awesome to be here. I saw that you were on my calendar today, and I'm like, yes, let's go. Jen Suzuki's my favorite. And I don't even care if anybody else hears that, right? Everybody, if you're out there and I told you were my favorite, I lied. Jen is my favorite, hands down. That's the truth.
You know what? Your energy level always matches mine. And I always feel like you're a guy who will go to bat for somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like you will go above and beyond to help somebody. And I always appreciate people like you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I want
really
them in my
appreciate
circle.
that. You're the same way. You and I are like the same.
Well, look, I mean, I know you got 1,000 things to do. By the way, he's got a big family. He's getting ready to go on a little holiday with his family, hit the lake. I like that. It's hard to balance. And maybe you could incorporate some of that with us in our conversation today. Because I think a lot of times for me, even just, being raised in the car business, selling cars, coming up, I was told, there was no vacations,
Right.
And really, I took a vacation for the first time in my entire career last year.
Right.
And finding balance, I think, is pretty tough, especially when you're trying to grow a business or you feel like you're trying to make a transition to a new role and you got to learn some things and you got to get committed to it. And people make you feel like, you can't take a holiday.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I think that along those lines, Jen, at some point in my life, I learned two things. One, I learned how important words are, right? And the words that we use they're incredibly impactful. Words have energy. And a lot of times we use words and we don't understand their definitions, right? And so I was talking to this guy and he says, man, I'm super excited. I'm getting ready to invest in this stock. And I know it's going to blow up, right? And I'm going to make all this money. I'm like, that's cool, man. And then he goes, yeah, man. And I'm investing in this business. It's going to be amazing, dude. We're going to get like a 5x return on it. It's going to be incredible. I'm like, oh, man, that's cool. And he goes, man, I'm investing in myself. I'm going to this conference. It's going to be every time I go to a conference, I always come back. I get something, man. Like, I can't wait to invest in myself on that. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, dope. And then he goes, yeah, and I'm gonna spend some time with my kids and my wife on vacation. I'm gonna spend some time with them. And like when he said that, it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. So I walked away from the conversation and I looked up the word invest. And I looked up the word spend. And the word invest, if you look it up, it means to put in energy, money, whatever, with the expectation of a return. And when you look up the word spend, it says a deficit. It's a minus, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So here I am saying I'm going to spend time with my family, right? That's a deficit. So I learned like, okay, wait a minute. We need to, if I can change that word, just get rid of the word spend, eradicate it, right? In every aspect of my life, right? Like I'm not going to spend time in my faith. I'm going to invest time in my faith. I'm not going to spend time on social media. I'm going to invest time in
Mm-hmm.
social media. I'm not going to spend time with my wife and kids. I'm going to invest in
Mm-hmm.
my wife and kids. And when I made that shift, I realized that every area of your life requires a different investment to get a return.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not balance. If you look up the word balance, balance means equal.
Yeah.
People are always saying, how do I find balance in life? Well, and the only way you could find balance is you'd have to spend equal time with spouse, equal time
With
with
work,
kid, equal
mm-hmm.
time with work, equal time
Friends,
with self, equal time in faith,
self.
equal time in fitness, right? Everything would have to
Mm-hmm.
be equal. That's
Mm-hmm.
impossible.
Yeah.
There's not enough hours.
Uh-huh.
However, if we change it from balance and we say, okay, how do I invest in my faith, my family, my finances, my friends? How do I invest in my career and my education and my mental health? How do I invest in my fitness? When we change it to invest, we can say, okay, well, I'm going to invest 45 minutes a day working out, and that gets me a good return. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to invest 30 minutes a night with my wife watching Big Bang Theory because
Mm-hmm.
it gets me a return. I don't like Big Bang Theory, but she loves it. So I'll
Yes.
make that investment because it gets me a return. I'm going to invest 5 minutes with my daughter, Willow, who's kind of all over the place and just wants to feel seen, heard, and significant. But I'm going to invest more time with my son, Joel, who really needs
Mm-hmm.
that connection with dad, right? In
Mm-hmm.
my business, I'm going to invest in the marketing side more than I'm going to spend time doing laborious work that doesn't get me a return. On social, I don't spend time on social.
Yeah.
I invest. So now when I go in, I'm like, okay, I need to comment on this person's post. I want to connect with this person. I need to
Mm-hmm.
make a post that's going to be motivational, educational, inspirational. Like I'm going into it with the expectation of a return, not I'm just going to scroll mindlessly
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get nothing.
Investing
Right?
sounds more valuable.
Yeah.
It just makes a lot more sense. I want you to know you just taught me something. I'm gonna have to go back and marinate on this because what you just said makes a whole lot of sense. And I've been saying stuff like now I felt like dated.
I know you feel dirty about it.
Yeah, I do.
I was
Like,
the same
feeling
way. I'm like,
dirty.
holy crap, man. Like, oh my gosh, but it's such a simple thing
Yeah.
to change. And
Mm-hmm.
when you change the word, you change the
Mentality.
thought. And when you change the thought, you change the action.
Yeah.
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 Powerful, right?
Excellent.
Podcast is over. We win. Everyone, there you go. That's all you got. No, I'm just kidding.
I am just well, okay. I have to come back to that because that was something that really needs to. It's worth to unpack, but I really like the feel of what you just said because I think a lot of us struggle with stuff like this, and then we say stuff like this, like spend, and I like the word invest. It
Yeah.
just feels more productive. It sounds more valuable, meaningful, and yeah. All
What
right,
if
thank
what
you
if
for
I
that.
were to say to you right now, I'm like, okay, I'm like, hey Jen, I'm gonna go spend some time getting caught up on emails.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Right. Yeah.
that feels one way, right? You don't know what does that even mean, right?
Right.
Like, and then where if I were to say, hey Jen, I'm gonna go invest in getting my email box cleaned out right now. How would you respond to me? Like if you were my boss or a leader or someone in my life, right? If
Yeah.
those two different senses, you immediately respond differently
Mm.
just with
Uh,
that one word.
well, both of them feel entirely differently.
Yeah.
It makes you actually stop and think about your actions
Right.
and what that time is meant for.
That's right. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
stop spending and let's start investing, and you'll find that you have all the time you need to do all of the things.
Oh, okay. Love it. Switching gears a little bit. Oh, okay. Hang on. My um
Yeah.
engineer is calling me. That
Uh-oh.
means something's going on. What happened? Oh, we're good? Okay, we're good. Well,
Maybe,
anyway,
maybe the engineer was just just flabbergasted at what we just talked about. They're like, oh, we need to invest in
I
this
think it caused
interview.
a glitch in the computer. The energy was like all over. So we have a mutual friend who told me about his membership with you and your 800% Elite Automotive Club. And
Okay.
this is now I'm always dialed into what you're doing with dealers and GMs. And it feels very next level dealer 20 group.
Do you know what
Okay.
I mean? Because I feel like you're very intentional about your locations and the activities that you guys do together. And I really sense, I mean, like Dealer 20 groups, they always say these are their besties. I mean, for life, these guys have extreme camaraderie. I
Sure.
still feel, the camaraderie that I see feels just so down to earth. You know what I mean? Like that's just pure, like you could see it in people's eyes. And working with NADA, working with a lot of dealers, and working with 20 groups and such. I always like organizations like this because I think we need a person, or better yet, more, along with a mentor. That's you, and to be able to kick ideas around and be able to shoot ideas at and say, hey, have you done this before? Or, hey, how would you handle this? And I think it's hard to be great at everything.
Right.
But how did you get on this journey to develop this club for leadership?
Yeah, so I left. I was the general manager, Dan Cummins Chevrolet in Buick in Paris, Kentucky. We grew that dealership 800% in just under 6 years. And in October of 2018, I was like, okay, I believe this season of my life is over.
Mhm,
Incredibly grateful for it. But let's see what else God has for me. And so I left there and I spent the next year basically speaking at different events and doing in stores. I
mhm.
did that for a year, right?
Like
So
consulting.
dealer would pay me a whole bunch of money. I'd leave on Tuesday, leave my family on Tuesday, go to the hotel and wherever, right? Stay in the hotel, spend all of Wednesday in the dealership. Then the dealer would feel like he had to take me to dinner, even though he
Mhm,
really wants to go home to his family. But he'd
mhm.
take me to dinner. We'd go to dinner Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning, I'd catch a flight and go back home. Right.
Right.
And I'd give them this list of all
Yeah.
these things that they need to
Right.
work on. Right. And
Yes.
they'd be mind blown, Jamie.
Yeah.
Like just, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this is the most amazing stuff ever. I'm like,
Mhm,
yeah, let's go.
mhm.
And then I'd call them 2 weeks later and I'd be like, yo, how is everything? And they're like, this is amazing. It's the best stuff ever. I'm like, great. Then I'd call 2 weeks after that and I'd say, how are things? And they'd say, it's good, man. It's pretty good. Like, this is pretty good stuff. And then I'd call 2 weeks later and I'd say, how's things going? And they'd say, we're not doing that anymore.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what? What do you mean you're
Yeah.
not doing it? I took 3 days away from my family. You took time away from your family. We showed you the things. You were jacked up about it. And now 6 weeks later, you're not doing it. So I did that for a year and I thought, this is stupid, man.
Mm,
We're not actually impacting change at
mhm.
all. And I'm, missing out on, my kids' stuff and they're missing out on their kids' stuff. And like, this doesn't work. It just
Mhm.
doesn't work. And so I asked myself, well, why doesn't it work? Because I know the methods work, the processes work, all of that works. Well, why doesn't it work? So then I really looked at it and I'm like, oh, our entire industry is built in 30-day windows. And
Yeah.
after 30 days, bro, like this whole industry, everything from manufacturer incentives to how people get paid to
Mhm.
the targets, we hero to zero, right? That's
Mm,
the,
that's right.
the saying in auto, hero to zero, right?
Yeah,
Today's
still
the
as good as
last day
last
of the
month.
month, all this stuff, right? It's the beginning of the month. It's the last of the month. We're always better in the second half of the month than we are in the first half of the month. Everybody's
Always.
talking about the dang month. And I'm like, oh, no wonder it doesn't work. Because once I'm gone, 30 days later, they're starting all over.
Yeah.
That's what's been happening in this industry for 50 years. That's why most dealerships in this country sell the same amount of cars today as they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I love 20 groups. I think 20 groups are great. I think NADA has done a phenomenal job. They protect the dealer body. We wouldn't be where
Yes.
we are without NADA. I love what they've done. They go through their financial statements and they help dealerships be healthy. What they've missed and what I believe the industry needed is they were putting dealers that were the same shape and size together in the same room, going over nothing but net statements, maybe sharing a couple best practices and ideas, but focus too much on the money and focus too much on a brand.
Mhm.
So when I saw all this, I'm like, okay, how do we create something different?
Yeah.
Because I really want people to be able to scale. So I understand the benefits of being with other dealers, but doesn't it make more sense that independent dealers should be with franchise dealers, and Ford dealers should be with Toyota dealers, and dealers in Florida should also be with dealers in California, and people who have small dealerships should be with people who have big dealerships, and people who have single point should be with people who have groups. Because if we get in a room with a bunch of people that don't look like us and don't walk like us and don't talk like us, that's when you learn new stuff. Best
Okay.
way to learn Spanish is to go to Spain, sister. Best way to go to learn French is to go to France, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so with our 20 groups, you really can't learn scale or outside the box thinking. You can only learn how to be healthier within your prison, for lack of a better
I hear
word.
you.
So what we created is so I just decided, like, okay, these guys need accountability. We need long-term relationships, not hit it and quit it. We need a marriage, right? It needs to be, and we need an environment where everyone looks different, walks different, and talks different, so we can be inspired
That's interesting.
over a long period of time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's where 800% Club came in. And so I
Okay.
started in November of 2019. I did a 2-day workshop. There were 15 dealers there. I taught them everything I could. And halfway through day 2, I said, hey, I'm launching this membership. It's X dollars per month. It's for owners and GMs of all different shapes and sizes. I'm going to teach you. We're going to learn from each other how to grow and scale 800%. Now, here we are 5 years later. We've had hundreds of stores, and it's been pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. And I'm curious, have you seen dealers in this group get to 800%?
No. And here's what's interesting about that. I'm glad that you asked that question. I have seen a ridiculous amount of dealers get to 200%.
Okay, wow, that's big.
Big. I
Big.
mean, they double up.
That's
And then,
yeah.
and then guess what happens when they double up?
What happens?
And they get pretty comfortable with the double up.
Okay, I've seen it,
They start making some money.
right?
They're like, yeah, well, we used to sell 150 cars. Now we sell
We're doing
300.
300, right? Like
Why do we
that's
need any
enough.
more than that? Bought a new
Mhm.
house. I got a nice car. Wife's
Yep,
good. Kids are good. So people get comfortable. They start to
that's right.
settle in, and then they show up less to my live Q&As, and they start to do the training a little bit less. And they'll still pay
Mhm.
me for a long period of time, just in case there's a crisis and they happen to go
Mhm.
back. I have one guy that was in our program. I didn't see him. He paid me a lot of money for 3.5 years. I never saw him once because we doubled him up, and then he just stopped coming. But he still would pay every month because he appreciated the double up, right?
Mhm.
So now we're trying to figure that part out. I'm like,
Hmm.
man, because 800%, you really got to have a certain level of drive and initiative to be able to continue to step on the pedal even once you already feel like you won the race.
Yeah.
And that's a different thing. So I
That's
gotta get
actually a
better at
very
teaching.
elite group of people in my
Yes.
experience, and
Yes.
I can tell you the people I've come across that are those high performers that constantly think the exact way that you do.
Mhm.
How do we get to the next level? I'm not gonna stop. We gotta go, 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 go. This is okay. We hit the 500. Okay, how do we get to 600? We gotta
Right.
get to 600. Wait, we got to 600. We gotta get to 700.
Right.
Seven's not good. We can do 8. We can do 8. You know what I mean? Like these guys.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to fight that fight, my friend, because it's hard. It's hard.
No
And there's a
doubt.
lot of setbacks and there's a lot of risk. And a lot of times people don't want to take the risk because, it's so comfy in their warm, cozy blanket over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you don't take the risk, then how do you get to the next level? And
Yeah.
you're going to keep doing the same exact thing. You're going to produce the same results, and you can't achieve that next greater level that is out there for you. So I
Also, I think
totally
a lot of people
feel
have
what you're saying.
they have people in their ears, right? And they don't
Mhm.
necessarily how to handle that. So I've had many dealers, they're like, okay, Glenn, hey, we're up 150 units year over year. And now
Yeah.
my people are saying, all you ever want is more. You always want it to be more. Why can't you be happy? When is enough enough? Right? All of these things. And they're like, how do I handle those people that are in my ear? And I
Yeah.
say, well, it's not the people that are in your ear that you need to handle.
Mhm.
It's the way that you're talking to the people that are in your ear that you need to handle. Because what you can't do as a leader
Mhm.
is say, let's go. We got to crack 300. We got to crack 300. And then when they crack it, the next day you go 0 to 0. Now we got to go to 400. Like, you can't do that. Your people are going to be like, dude, I can never
Right. We just
satisfy
busted our
you
ass
as a
for 3.
leader. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So people ask me all the time, what'd you do over there at DC? Because we grew over 100 cars per month, year after year after year
Mm,
after year for 6 years, and went from 120 cars a month to 850. And
outstanding.
people said, well, how did you do that? And I said, well, I didn't talk about what was in it for us. All I talked about was what was in it for them.
Hmm.
So I told my people all the time, I said, hey, I actually had a meeting once, and the meeting was called Who Should I Fire? And I took every person in leadership in the organization, I took their picture, and one by one, I went through and I told the people in the room, I said, you're the GM today. If 2 people in this room vote to fire someone, I will fire them. And I put each person's face on the screen, every leader, every
Wow.
sales manager, every finance manager, their GSM. I put their face on the screen. I said, hey, do you guys want to fire this person? No. Do you want to fire this person? No. Nobody wanted to fire anybody. Nobody
Right.
wanted to fire anybody. I said, okay, so what you're telling me is that everyone here deserves the role and the position that they're in. And everybody's nodding their head like, yeah. And I said, okay, so how do you get promoted? If you're in sales right now and you want to be a finance manager, you're in BDC right now and want to be a finance manager,
That's
you're a
right.
detailer and want to be a finance manager or a sales manager or a GSM. How do you get promoted if I can't fire them? The
Hmm.
only other way is we have to grow. We have to scale. Because if
Hmm.
we sell another 100 cars a month, I need another sales manager and I need another finance guy, right? So by telling them what's in it for them, now they're going, bro, let's go sell more. Let's go sell more. Let's go sell more.
How do we do more?
Right. Versus, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's the first of the month. So you
Yeah.
guys did 300 last month. Now I need 320. Come on, you can
Right.
do it. Right.
Yeah.
So we got to shift our language, man. Language is so incredibly powerful.
Excellent.
But yeah, so that I
Yeah.
think is a big part of it is they have people in their ear and they don't know how to handle that. And they almost feel guilty for continuing to chase a different number. Whereas if you just change the narrative and understand that that bigger number is the benefit of the people you care about most, then now you're driven and passionately driven to
Mhm.
continue to scale.
These are really great angles. And I'm loving this because even for me, I think, sometimes you'll get into a cycle of
Sure.
thinking, and especially if you're successful, because
Right.
you got your strategy and everything, and people even look at you and say, "Oh, you're a top performer," and then you almost think that, like, "Oh, I'm tapped out. I'm doing great. I'm on holiday." When there is so much more to uncover for
No doubt.
everybody. Personal growth, business growth, there's always something more. And I think sometimes we feel like boxed in once we get to where we want to be if we don't see the bigger opportunity.
Right.
And I think a lot of us could say that that's the case. A lot of times you see salespeople, for example, at 13 car guy, 20 car guy, they just stay there.
Sure.
So and same thing with stores, right? And it's like how so when you give it these 2 angles of thought processes here, I'm curious what your other if you've got some other tricks up your sleeve, because this is so great. I love this. It's really just challenging my thinking,
Yeah.
challenging probably other listeners' thinking too. But I know you got something else up that sleeve. So in thinking about thinking about your group, your members, your dealer GM clients, there's probably some key strategies that you could share with us for owners and GMs and managers out there to help them with some of the current challenges. What are you seeing right now that people in your group are challenged with that seems to be running parallel with each other? Things that we're starting to see maybe as influenced by just economic conditions
Yeah.
and inventory and everything, all the environmental things.
Sure.
What do you say? What do you say? What have you suggested to your dealers to get them to think differently about it?
Well, I think the most important thing that we've been trying to get the message across for many years now, even when I was back running a store, is
Mhm,
that volume solves everything.
mhm,
And a lot of my clients, especially when they first initially, come to join the group, they
mhm.
really struggle with this. They
Okay.
know they want to sell more cars.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to sell more cars.
Everybody wants to sell more cars. Yeah.
Everybody
They don't
wants
want to sacrifice the gross.
They don't want to sacrifice gross, which you don't have to, by the way,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
that's the first thing that comes into their head.
Mhm,
And they've also convinced themselves there's a lot of limiting beliefs. around that. And so they'll be like, no, volume doesn't solve everything. I mean, volume solves some things, but volume and gross solves everything. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Mhm.
You can just stick to volume solves everything. You can stick to that one mindset and belief and build, right? Make every investment towards that target and that goal. It becomes, it really is the truth. It's the reality. So we've been trained in the auto industry by financial statements. Every dealer I know has got a financial statement within arm's reach at all times, right? You can ask them all anytime, hey, where you got your financial statement? Oh yeah, it's right here. Man, they've got their financial statement, and that's how they've been trained. And again, NADA, but phenomenal job of training people to create healthy businesses. With that said, if we're only making decisions based on a financial statement, you can't scale.
Okay.
Absolutely impossible to scale.
Yeah.
So volume will solve your financial statement woes if you really dive into it, right? So example, if I'm looking at individual car deals and yelling at my team because they lost $1,500 on the front, didn't make any on the back, and the customer lives 2 states over, why'd we even do that deal? If I'm yelling at them at that individual deal, right, then I'm not looking holistically at the big picture. The big picture is I need to swing the bat as many times as humanly possible. If you look at the game Moneyball, right? The movie Moneyball.
Great movie.
What they found is if they can get the guys that get on base is all that matters.
Yeah.
How they get on
Right.
base, right? That's how you win
Yes.
ball games, is getting people on base.
Yes.
Putting a customer in a car is the equivalent of getting somebody on base. How we get there, sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's they get hit, sometimes it's hits, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We've got to get people on base. Once I get somebody on base, right, then they may give me a trade-in I make money on. They might, I'm going to pick up a doc fee. They're going to do things in service. They're going to maybe refer some friends. Maybe they're going to make a post on social media. Maybe they're going to give me
Maybe buy another car.
review. Maybe they buy another car. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But every time I say no, all of that gets cut out. Like all of it. There's no base hit. There's no chance I'm going to get a run. It's not going to happen the minute I say no to that customer. So when you can really buy in, one of my dealer clients is calling me right now. When you can really buy into this idea of volume solves everything and start to really build towards that and just look at the infinite game. Simon Sinek, Infinite Game, is the first book I hand every one of my clients. I say, you have to read this and you have to understand this, because I'm not trying to win the month. And I'm not trying to win the day, and I'm not trying to win the year, and I'm not trying to win the zone, and I'm not trying to win the region, and I'm not trying to win the state, and I'm not trying to win the decade. I'm trying to stay in this game as long as humanly possible to create as many opportunities for us to A, make some money, and B, really make an impact in other people's lives, right? So the longer we're in the game, the better it is. The more base hits, the more things can come from it. Volume truly solves everything. So that's really where we start.
Okay. All right. I mean, a lot of people are very gross oriented, especially coming off these years where everything was popping.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to
And
make
they
those
shrunk. A
mentality
lot of them
shifts.
shrunk. Right? A lot of them said, oh, now we're making 10 grand a car, so we can sell 80 cars less. We can stock less cars. We can reduce our expense. Those are the ones that are calling me now going, oh shit, bro, we're stuck. I can't get any new cars from the manufacturer. I don't know where to get any used cars. All my employees are blowing out. Like so many things are affected by them pulling back on those reins and just counting their money. It's absurd, man. I feel really, really bad for a lot of dealers in the position they're in right now.
Well, I think salespeople too have the same mentality. So do sales managers when it even comes to their own personal growth, because, it's like you let off the gas when you start making all those commissions.
Right.
When we really should have been building the pipeline. A lot of
Well,
the stores I work with are high performing stores, and they never let off the gas. I mean, these people had me flying on planes every single week through COVID. I never took time off. I mean, I was like, it's COVID. You guys want me to be there? Okay.
Yeah. And it was super fun flying on those big planes with no one on them.
Nobody in there. But what wasn't fun is not being able to get a ride or food or whatever they, but any of them matter. These guys were hustlers. And they were like, we're not going to let our people let off the gas. They are going to prospect. They are going to, and we just hit it hard. And these are now they are top 5 in the country
That's right.
stores
That's right.
that continued with that mentality. They would never let them let off that gas.
That's right.
But I think that salespeople could learn a lesson or two from this. Because a lot, you're like, hey, just get them on base. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And for me, I'm saying to myself, like, oh, okay, look, I can see some salespeople that sit there and they're like, oh, they complain about stuff and nothing's ever right. But it's like, look, if you could just outbound prospect every day, X amount of time allocated towards just getting in front of people,
Yep.
let them know some of the stuff that's going on, I mean, we didn't have inventory 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, we got inventory now. Like, let's get excited about it. Tell them about it, let
No
them know
doubt.
some of the changes. Be there. Just be a culture that supports connections with people in a meaningful and valuable way.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like, hey, are you in the car market? Like, that's so basic. That's so woo. That's like 10 years ago.
Well, and
But
you're leaving 98% of people out when you do that, because 98% of people are not in the car market. So if I make a post that's like, hey, are you looking to buy a car? I'm only talking to 2 out of the 100 people that see that post.
yeah.
It's a terrible way to market yourself.
But if you go back into the database and you go back to the people that bought 3-5 years ago and you start looking at, oh, look, they're in a high interest rate and we got better rates right now, I got a reason to call.
That's correct.
I can create a warmer opportunity.
That's right. Build those relationships and can keep, like you said, keep taking base hits. I always look at Grant, right? Grant Cardone is a very, he's been very influential in my life in many ways, because I saw him selling videotapes out of the trunk of his car in 1999. And now I know where he is today. And so he's very, he inspires me often. And when you look at his model, him and I have had a lot of conversations about it. So 80% of what Grant does is free, right? 80% free, and then 20% paid. And of the 20% paid, he has different levels of pay. And the majority, the bulk of his like 10x growth conference, for example, the bulk of the money that he gets for that event comes from his very small pool of diamond elite, whatever, the people that paid $40,000 to sit in the front row seat. But he's filling the room with people that paid $49 for a ticket. That's how he's filling the room. And so he's funneling all these people to create opportunities, because you never know when the $49 ticket person
turns into the $40,000
seat, right?
Yeah.
That's what we miss sometimes in automotives. Everybody's just trying to hit the home runs, right? Whereas we need
get them on base and see what happens next.
That's right.
Because now you got a sale. Now you got a customer. Now it's up to you to decide, okay, what are you going to do with this person? See, you could just let them go, which is what most people do.
Right.
They're going to stay connected. It's like, wait a minute, this person might have a spouse. They come home with a new car and you're not there. Like, hey, what about your spouse? They like your car? Yeah, what do they think about their car now?
That's right.
Let's go.
That's it. That's it.
Oh, what your neighbors think?
That's right.
Your neighbors' cars are old.
Totally.
And let me pop by over there. Make sure you guys know how to use this and that. Bring your neighbors.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like top performers have to hustle in order to stay connected to people. And I think it becomes a lot easier. Ali Rita, he's been on my podcast, number 1 car salesman in the world, right?
Amazing.
And for him, he would say, it's about my relationships with people. So once you got him on base, or you could put a deal together, no matter what that deal looks like, this can become a customer forever, where you're building a book of business built on your connections and staying in front of people and your community, because now you're here. Now it's up to you. But a lot of people just throw it out the door.
Well, you can't quantify that on a financial statement. So a lot of people don't understand that. So
I do understand that.
Right? We have to teach that, because it's very hard to quantify 3 years from now, 6, like right now, my new dealership that we're opening, I just went out yesterday. I bought 4 55-inch TV screens. I bought 2 PlayStations, 2 Xboxes, and 4 tablets. We're putting this kid zone together with beanbag chairs and tables, stuff for all the kids to climb on, and so on and so forth. And somebody was asking me the other day, they're like, dude, why are you, like, you're going to town on this kid zone? And I'm going, well, because if these kids can have a blast in my dealership, maybe maybe one day they'll come work for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe one day they'll come by.
They'll be a customer.
Like the 8-year-old who's like, dude, every time we go to 800%, I get to play PlayStation. It's freaking amazing. That 8-year-old's going to be a 16-year-old one day. And he's going to be a 25-year-old one day. Right.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I think because
and they feel good about the brand.
In our industry, everyone's thinking in 30-day windows. They're not thinking Let's invest today to get an employee a decade from now. And
Yeah.
that's something I really try to work with my clients with, is understanding like every action made today is for the infinite game. And you can't quantify that stuff on a financial statement, right? But ultimately in time, if you build those relationships, you'll have a pipeline of employees and a pipeline of customers, and you'll make plenty of money.
And it totally applies to your team members as
Right.
well. Everything that you just said applies to your team members. Nurture your team members and their success and their growth, and they stay and they build their businesses
Yep.
and blah, blah, blah. It comes along with it. Look, congratulations on your dealership. I just saw that
Thanks.
this week on a lot of your, in the last couple of weeks, probably in some of your posts and such. And
Right.
it's just, it really is inspirational to see a man who, started off in the business just like all of us,
Sure.
worked his way up, took the risk to get into something different and then built it. And, has been on shows with Grant Cardone. I mean, everybody loves Grant, and
Grant's my
just,
guy.
you're just winning at everything that you touch. And I know this, I work for everything I've had in my life.
That's
It's,
right.
it's never easy.
Yeah.
And you make it look easy. I know it's not, but
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate, your insights and willingness to share and to build other people up out there.
Yeah,
And
of course,
thank
man.
you for joining today. Yes.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
just wish you all the success in the world and I can't wait. I always wonder when people like, we're consultants. I always wonder, how would you run your dealership? People say this to me all the time. If you had a dealership, what would you do? And now it's like, oh, you're doing it. Let's see what
That's
Glenn's
right.
gonna do.
That's right. Put your money where your mouth is, right? Put your money.
Yeah.
But I'm most
I like
excited
that.
to eradicate the excuses, right? A lot of times, even my clients, they
Mhm.
still, all right, Glenn, yeah, that sounds great, but you haven't ran a store since 2018, buddy. Things are a
Right.
little bit different. Or, yeah, Glenn, that worked for you, in that thing, but things are, they just always have I can't
Sure.
buy any cars at auction right now. You don't understand. The prices are too high. You're not trying to buy cars right now. And now I can be like, yeah, bro, I bought 150 cars in the last 6 days. Like, don't give me I don't want any grief out of you, right? Like
Yeah.
whatsoever. So we're excited about that. And
Yeah.
I had a meeting with the team this morning, and I shared with them, like, it was everybody, right? It was my detail people, my service people, my sales people, my leadership, my accounting people. And I just shared with them, I said, hey, I just want you to know that we built this place for you, not for me. I already have everything. I have everything I need and want. But we built this place for you. And I said, I can remember when I used to clean cars, and I can remember trying to figure out parts. I didn't do a whole lot of parts, but figuring out some parts. And I can remember the first time I turned some wrenches and learned how to change oil. And I can remember being a salesperson. I can remember being a finance person. I can remember being a sales manager. I can remember being a GSM. I can remember all of these stages. And I said, the one piece of advice that I can give you is, this industry will take you as far as you want to go. But whatever stage you're in, you have to know and understand that your role is integral. Whether it's washing the car, marketing the car, servicing the car, selling the car, your role is so integral. And if you own that role, this industry will take you wherever you want to go. That was my biggest thing, is I owned every role I was in. And by owning the role, I was given more opportunities to own additional roles. Now I've been in all of them, and I can look back and say, hey, bro, you're detailing cars now, but you can own a dealership in 20 years. Hey, you're selling now, but you can own a dealership group a decade from now. Like, but whatever spot you're in now, give it everything you've got. Industry will take you to the top.
And scene. I don't want to say anything else after that. That was just yes. I'm like, woo!
Amen to that, right?
Yes. That you know what? I say that all the time. This business saved my life in more than many ways. More than one time.
That's right.
But that's the thing. It's such a remarkable industry. You could do anything you want. you know, and they will hand it to you. You know, as long as you are consistent in your effort, you show up, you know, and you work.
That's it.
You know, you
own that spot, whatever spot you're in.
Try to be great at it. Just be great at one thing.
Great. That's right. That's right.
Excellent. Well, okay. Now I gotta have you on again because I had so much more I want to say, but I don't want to, you know, keep you all day.
I would love to be on again. You just let me know when.
Okay. All right. Glenn Lundy, everybody. I'm going to put all of his links to his social and to the 800 Elite Auto Club that he's got going on. And you should see some of the links to, if you're not following Breakfast with Champions on Clubhouse and things like this. I'll put all of his contact information in the show notes.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!